in invitationals as well. He likes to play Mud in Legacy.
And this matchup, I feel like, is really bad for Ross.
I think it's horrible for Ross.
His deck does not attack very fast, and all it does is attack. So I'm not sure what he's supposed to do here.
I'm stumped just like you are, my friend. He's going to start things off with a copy of Temple of Mana. We're underway here in round number 5, but I think that Merriam is in a bad spot here as Newman's going to start off with an island. A Nykthos into a Sylvan Caryatid here for Merriam.
And James is already, I bet he cannot contain his excitement right now.
Yes.
At this start from Ross.
This is the exact kind of matchup he wants to play against. Another Caryatid, pass the turn back. And now we got ourselves a Monastery Siege. Merriam going to take a look at that. I have to imagine that Newman chose to draw that action of the card. I believe the con side as we take a look at Monastery Siege here just a moment for you at home that are not familiar. Caryatid going to generate some mana. There's a Whisperwood Elemental.
Yeah, cool, whatever, man.
The Concaf is the side that I believe Newman did select. So he will get the opportunity at the beginning of his draw step to draw an additional card, then discard a card.
And, you know, players like Ross, they're on camera all the time. James has a bit of a resume, but it's nothing huge. But sometimes you get in these spots where, am I on camera right now because it's me against some guy, or is it because my opponent has a weird deck? And I think Ross is probably starting to get a sense that it's the second thing.
Yeah, it's because my opponent has a weird deck. Another Monastery Siege. To Merriam, we're going to go.
As I believe Orbs of Warding was just discarded?
Yeah, duh. Here come the beatdowns. Ross going to sacrifice some fetch lands.
But this deck has always needed Howling Mine or a similar effect.
Of course.
And Monastery Siege gets to be that card.
Also has cards, again, like Dictative Crewfix, too, which was a card that was really popular right out of the gate but never really found a home.
Orbs of Warding, also a nice little combo with Days Undoing, because you can protect yourself from discard spells, and a lot of opponents, that's really the only reasonable card they're going to be drawing against you.
Newman's going to be drawing 3 cards and discarding 2 of them. He's going wild here. Merriam even had the opportunity last turn to play Dragonlord Atarka. Nothing to target, of course, but we'll see what happens here, because Monastery Siege has some weird text. It says at the beginning of your draw step you get to draw an extra card and then discard a card. And I think what James was doing was he was trying to resolve them all at once. Yeah, so that's the confusion point that we're at right now. And we'll take a look at Monastery Siege again for the text on the card. On the Concaf, it says at the beginning of your draw step, draw an additional card, then discard a card. So how these line up trigger-wise is a little bit strange, I think, because it's something that it feels like a replacement of your draw, kind of-ish, but I'm no judge.
No, neither am I.
So you see, this will get sorted out here in just a moment, I believe. The Dragons half of this card doesn't come up all that often, but oddly enough, you know, if you're playing against a burn deck, it might actually be okay in this matchup.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure that the Dragons half does come up, especially against burn strategies where that's something dangerous for them to Days Undoing into.
Yeah. That's the part that's kind of interesting, so. When we do have a final ruling on this situation, we will certainly let you guys know, but we're going to come back to the booth really quickly and actually take a better look at exactly what James Newman is up to here, because you saw the Monastery Sieges that were in play. He's also got copies of Sphinx's Tutelage and Days Undoing and then Dictative Crewfix. So drawing cards is very easy for him to do.
That's all his deck is trying to do. Just have a critical mass of fogs, assume opponents for the most part are doing nothing but attacking with creatures, and leverage all the card drawing like Days Undoing and Treasure Cruise to be able to keep the fogs going indefinitely.
Now, over the course of Magic's history, I know Turbo Fog has always been a deck that people have wanted to see kind of make work. You know, what is like the best Turbo Fog deck in history? Was it like the Oath? I don't know if the Oath of Druids, that was a Turbo Land deck, the Oath of Druids deck.
Yeah. From Turbo Fog, I mean, I don't know if the deck was ever a high tier 1 player in Standard.
Okay.
The problem is in the course of Magic's history, there's usually been some counterspell deck that was just too good against Turbo Fog.
Okay.
Because what are your fogs doing in these kind of matchups? And you usually have a critical, just a few critical pieces that if they can counter, your deck doesn't really do a whole lot else. And Standard's not really in that place right now. I mean, there aren't that many counterspell dense decks. Just we've seen some dissolves and other counterspells floating around, but it's not 16, 20 counterspells like there was back in the day. So I think this deck's probably better positioned now as a macro concept than it has been during most of Standard's history.
Okay. Well, we're going to head back to our match because we have our ruling, and game is going to be underway yet again. And this is a good time to talk about the new drawing of cards violation ruling that has just been announced. It was in the early stages of last week. So basically what happens now is when drawing extra cards happens, instead of it just being a game lost, you get getting kicked out of the building. Now, you reveal your hand, and for however many extra cards were drawn, your opponent actually gets to select those cards and have you, I believe, shuffle them back into your deck.
Yes.
I don't think it's put on the bottom. I believe you shuffle them back in.
Right.
So now what's going to happen here is that Ross is going to get to select some cards here because James has drawn too many. That's why his hand he gets to select one and gets to have James shuffle it away. So now he gets to get this. And I think that this is actually, it's not the cleanest fix, but I think it's a better fix than what was in place before.
Yeah, the rule is not the most elegant thing, but the alternative is James gets a game loss right now, even though, in my opinion, and I hope everyone else's opinion, he wasn't trying to do anything shady. And I would just prefer for fewer game losses to be handed out in those kind of spots.
I agree. So now Ross is going to see a hand of Treasure Cruise and 2 Radiant Fountains and Defend the Hearth and another Treasure Cruise and the Winds and another Defend the Hearth, another Cruise. And now Ross knows what he's up against.
That's the good news.
Sort of.
The bad news is I don't think Ross's deck can really interact.
And so yeah, now card gets shuffled in. So things are going to get really complicated now. The rest of these cards will be in hand. And I believe there's also, because the Monastery Siege is triggered, there's also some discarding to be done here.
Yep.
Alrighty. So it looks like we're on the up and up here. There's a discard. There's a land for the turn. Radiant Fountain, gain some life. Now we head back to Merriam. Newman is at 16. Merriam does have 8 and 12. He is lethal, so now it's time to start fogging. So that'll certainly change some things.
Fog numero 1 of what I'm guessing will be many.
So the follow-up is here for Ross. That was Defend the Hearth, by the way. Permanent common damage will be dealt to players this turn. That text is relevant at times because if you're attacking a Planeswalker, that doesn't change anything. But if you're attacking a player and James has no Planeswalkers in play, it is a fog.
Or you can block something and fog everything else.
Also true. In this instance, James will have nothing. Not a gentleman interested in creatures. You saw Nissa here from Ross. So now Newman will do some Monastery Sieging now. Have to discard a card. One of them is a Radiant Fountain. Now he'll get to do it again.
Yep. Essentially how multiple Monastery Sieges work is the first one is draw 2, your draw step plus Monastery Siege, discard a card. And then the second one is just draw and discard separately. So where there was some confusion was James picked up 3 cards all at once, and that's not how it works.
Yep. We have a Sphinx's Tutelage. Ross wants to read that one. Come on, Ross. Number 4 on our Season 3 leaderboard. You're supposed to know all of these cards. These shouldn't be new to you.
We are seeing a lot of debuts here thus far.
Please bring Sphinx's Tutelage on screen. Please hurry. please hurry. It has so much text. I kid. Whenever you draw a card, target opponent puts the top 2 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. If they're both non-land cards that share a color, which could happen quite a bit in Ross's deck since he has base green deck, draw a card. Or excuse me, repeat this process, and then you actually can draw a card. Now here's another Defend the Hearth. That's another fog. Nice try, Merriam. This is the goal of the deck.
Right. You had to win somehow. So that's how it happens.
Turbo Fog decks are very charming. When I was in high school, I remember many long nights trying to build a Turbo Fog deck around like Cunning Wish and a bunch of other stuff, and always dying the turn before I would kill my opponent.
It's fun as long as it's not very good. The tipping point to this is horrible is it happens pretty fast.
I will say, back in my playing days, Worlds in Rome, the only world championship I ever played in, a player that did go 6-0 on day one, Joel Calafel from Barcelona, went 6-0 on day one in a Jund-laden format with Turbo Fog.
All right, so
I'll never forget it. This is there are going to be a lot of triggers now.
Yeah.
And you see both players hesitate. Okay, yes, trigger that. Okay, so now I turn over 2 cards. No repeat. Now Monastery Siege. I draw a card. Okay. Tutelage's effect is on this deck, so he's got to discard first. So now that happens. Now 2 green cards, ding-a-ding. Run it back, safe. Now we siege again. Draw a card. Discard a card.
Magic Online just crashed also.
It's broken.
Cannot play this deck online.
It's literally broken. Now, turn over 2 cards. They don't share. All right, James, you're in main phase 1. Nice. We're being tested today.
Yeah.
Oh, Treasure Cruise, great. Fantastic. With Sphinx's tutelage. Now I draw all 3 cards at once. You see James confirming that's what I do. So now I got 3 triggers from the tutelage. Oh, those don't share. Let's do it again. Those do share. So now I get to go again from the second card.
Don't share. So 1 more.
So now 1 more. They
Don't
share.
Again.
Again now.
And now we're done.
Okay, we're good. Easy breezy, beautiful.
Treasure Cruise resolves.
Yep.
All right, we're good. Everyone with us. We're still good. There's another trigger. You gain 1 life. There's a 19.
Bang. I hope James has a fog.
I think he does.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Be a bad way to go out from here.
I'm inclined to agree with you. We're also going to tap all his creatures in his creature deck. Defend the Hearth. Fog you again.
Is Sphinx's tutelage an uncommon?
I think so.
That is a bizarre uncommon.
I think so. It is uncommon. All right, mill you once. You don't share. All right, Monastery Siege trigger. Boom. James got a discard, resolve his ability. Now Ross sinks his tutelage. They don't share. Let's do the Monastery Siege again. Draw, discard, resolve that completely. Discard Days Undoing, that's fun. Those share. 1 more time, Sweetness. 1 more time, Sweetness.
Keep it going.
Done.
Okay, that was the upkeep.
And now seems like a good time to Treasure Cruise. He'll draw 3. We got 3 triggers. They don't share. That's 1. They don't share. That's 2. They don't share. That's 3. Ross has 2 cards left in his deck. That's not very many. Don't fall short now, James. You're so close.
Yep. Well, he's out of fogs. He could always Days Undoing. And I don't really know what the consequences of that are.
I don't know either.
That's an option on the table.
Each player shuffles his or her hand or graveyard. Okay, so they shuffle their stuff first and then draw 7? Don't love that.
All you gotta do is find a fog.
I guess you can repeat
It's not that hard for James to mill him out. And also remember, after the Days Undoing resolves, you get 1 million triggers from the tutelage.
That's true.
So you already kind of have a head start.
That's true.
In terms of, trying to, see, we're going to just do this.
Are we Days Undoing?
Yeah.
Yes.
Didn't know that was going to happen this weekend on camera. Very excited about it.
All right, so let's shuffle it all back in.
This is really simple to resolve from here. So what happens is, and you can see this is why James was being very careful with his delves. He was trying to leave his defend the hearths in the graveyard.
All right, so here's a question. Because we're not judges. All right, so shuffle everything back.
Yep.
Each draw 7 cards.
Yep.
End the turn.
Oh, good question.
So end the turn.
What happens with triggers?
With the triggers, I don't think they resolve because you end the turn as part of the resolution of Days Undoing.
Maybe.
So maybe Days Undoing plus Sphinx's Tutelage, a non-bow. And not what we like to call a combo.
No.
They do not get the triggers.
Because it's like time stop, the turn ends.
Yeah, it ends. The turn is over. A non-bow. And now he better find a fog because his turn's over. I've seen that shoulder shrug before.
That's a man with no fogs.
That's a man with no fog in hand.
Getting him down to 2 cards in graveyard. Time twistering.
This is how I've always lost playing Turbo Fog decks. I'm like, oh, you're so close. I'm going to draw a bunch of cards. I just got to find one more way to draw cards. I'm a mana short from activating Sphinx's Tutelage or drawing my own cards. Now here's Xenagos. And I'm almost positive Winds of Qual Sisma. Winds of Qual Sisma is a 3-mana spell. Might be a 2-mana spell. Ooh, there it is. Hold on. Let's take a look. I think it's a 2-mana fog. It is a 2-mana fog.
And we play on to the extent that this is playing.
So close, Merriam. Ross going to sacrifice his Wishboard Elemental. Doesn't want to mill any more
cards.
Yeah,
those are cards.
Hey, you got to see every angle. Got to give yourself the best chance to win. Respect that.
Been a pretty delightful day 1 of Magic Origin Standard
We're not even halfway home.
Yeah.
Here's the Sieges plus Tutelage combo. Discard. There goes Thornwood Falls. Oh, those share. Those don't. Now we do another Siege.
It's so funny from Ross's side of the table, too, of being so close to being put out of your misery, and then him Days Undoing because he didn't have any more fogs and having to go through all of this again.
Yeah. It's like, I'm dead, right? Not quite.
I'm dead, right? Not sure. We'll find out.
Yeah,
we'll find out in a couple turns.
It's unclear if you're dead.
Ooh, I think James has enough mana here to fog and activate the tutelage.
Woo, daddy. That's what I'm talking about.
Speed it up a little bit.
That's right. Here come the Satyr tokens. Let's just slow that down just a... Yes! 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 Yes!
And Aether Spouts is such a combo with the tutelage because it's all creatures on top.
That's right.
My goodness.
Clean up on aisle 3. Put them wherever you want them.
They all got to go on the bottom, right? He can't put them on the top.
You can't put them on top.
You can't put them on top. They all get milled over.
There you go.
Am I dead? Don't know yet.
Yeah, it's still very unclear who's winning.
Play on. I think James has got a pretty firm.
I'd like Spouts is give him a bit of an advantage. Also, by the way, I don't know if you noticed, he's at 19.
Yeah.
So now he can actually start taking a few hits and then start fogging again. What's not to love, folks? This is week 1 of a brand new standard format. I'm in heaven.
That was a great Aether Spouts. I've seen some good ones.
Adrian Sullivan, a big fan of Aether Spouts, always playing 1 in his blue-black control deck.
I'm a fan.
Adrian, why don't you get to work on this deck, my friend?
All right, Ross, now you get to rebuild.
Let's see what's next here for James. I guess Ross does have... I mean, Ross's even devotion count is pretty low now, so...
And I don't know how good James's deck actually is at the end of the day. It's a little too early to tell. But I'll tell you right now, people testing for the Pro Tour, this is being added to a gauntlet right now. You got to at least play some games.
You have to play some games against this. Because if Devotion is a big deck at the Pro Tour, this is the deck to play. Yeah. If Devotion was going to be a huge deck on your radar, well, okay, I'm going to build this maniacal Turbo Fog deck that Devotion can probably never beat. That's a dictative crew fix. Got it.
Okay.
It took me a second. That's a dictative crew fix. We're going to bring that up. We'll get that ready for you. Symmetrical effect. A lot of cards going to be drawn right now. They don't share. Dictate trigger. You're not going to get anything by me, James Newman.
And that's like a promo.
Oh, yeah. You can't get anything by me. At the beginning of each player's draw step, that player draws an additional card. And it has flash. That's why he's able to play at the end of turn. It's a Howling Mine.
Another Howling Mine alongside the Monastery Siege.
Yeah.
To keep the ball rolling.
Discard here from Monastery Siege. Milieu. Do these share a color? No. All right. What's next?
All right. Now we're in the main phase.
Yep. So this is one of those times where you wish you could play your cards towards your opponent. Let him get a good look. Let him get a good look at him. Oh, another tutelage.
The clock has been, I don't know if you call it sped up.
Uh-oh, so it's time for a cruise. It's been sped up. Yeah, it's been sped up. Ross is conceding because he's going to get milled out. James Newman is going to win game one here over Ross Merriam. Turbo Fog up a game over Green Red Devotion in what honestly might be its best matchup. We're going to get to see more of this in just a moment. Now, Patrick, this is where we're going to start with the sideboards. Yep. We're going to take a look at Ross's sideboard. I'm sure he's got a lot of hate for the Turbo Fog matchup.
He has one relevant card. He has an Ugin, which could be quite good.
That could be good.
Because James plays a lot of stuff to the table, and Ross is going to basically have uncontested mana development. James is not interested in killing anything. So that's the one card that Ross brings to the table here that matters. Other than that, we got some Roasts, some Toxic Rupture, some Plummets, some Nissa Worldwakers, Nylea's Disciple, Arbor Colossus, Gaia's Revenge, all good against opponents who are vaguely interested in playing something that resembles a normal game of Magic. But for James, just the Ugin.
Very nice, very nice. Here on James's side, oh baby, a Dissolve, a Grind Clock, a Dragon Lord's Prerogative, a Talent of the, actually, let's make it 2 copies of Talent of the Telepath, 3 Icefall Regions, 2 Disdainful Strokes, another copy of Aether Spouts when you just need a 4th one, a Pearlic Ancient, 2 Clash of Wills, and an Ugin the Spirit Dragon.
I could get behind another copy of Aether Spouts and the 2 copies of Disdainful Stroke. I don't think James needs to do much here. He does have to worry about something like Ugin or just some other big top-end spell that appreciably interacts with what James is doing. So I like bringing in the Disdainful Strokes as insurance, but I'm sideboarding pretty light here from James.
Given how good the matchup is, I don't think he needs to sideboard a ton.
Yeah.
I think that is the case, and I don't expect either player to sideboard all that much. So these players are already sideboarded and shuffling, so we'll very quickly talk about their Open Series trials and what goes in with those. Now, the big thing about our Open Series trials, Patrick, is that you can earn buys for the Open Series, and we're watching Ross Merriam, a player who has 2 of them.
Very, very valuable. I mean, if you want to make the second day of the competition, have a money finish, the buys are extremely valuable. On top of that, it comes with a bunch of prizes where you don't even have to be interested in playing the Open Series to value these things, like playmats, vouchers to the Open Series event, and SCG Premium vouchers.
Love that playmat, love those buys too. StarCityGames.com for more information about our open trials. Can be hosted at local stores as well. Buys are important on the Open Series. It's helped many players get to the Players' Championship, one of which was Ross Merriam last year. And Ross wish he had a buy right now.
Yeah.
He does not want to play against this deck. How many deck techs do you think we can do in one weekend?
We're going to be pushing the upper limit. I mean, feels like every round we've had something. Pyromancer's Goggles, Rally the Ancestors, Jeff Hoogland Blue-White Artifact Control deck, and now Turbo Fog. And Ross, the helpless victim.
He's on the other side of it, and there's not a ton that he can do about it.
Gotta say, a little frazzled.
I think so.
A dispiriting game one.
Yeah.
Of almost getting milled out, then having Days Undoing occur, and then being milled out several turns later.
So you're going to shuffle my entire graveyard back in? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am.
I want to go again.
I feel like I'm that advantage. Let's do it again. Well, we're going to find out. Ross going to start with the Forest. A Temple of Mystery is how James will start things. Ross with the Rattleclaw Mystic. Newman will draw a card. Now, the thing about James's deck is it does really start on turn 3. That's when Dictated Crew, Fix, Monastery Siege, all that stuff really gets going. So Ross does have the ability to actually get under him a little bit, you know, in early Pelucranos, things of that nature, especially when he's on the play.
Yes, but it has to be that kind of start. for a deck like Mono Red, you can apply a lot of pressure early and then burn out. That's a good recipe against Fog. But Ross over here, he's not really getting any real pressure into play until the 4th or 5th turn. And that's just too much time for James to play something like Dictative Crewfix or Monastery Siege and then fog him out for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Ross is just too slow to get any sort of momentum going. And then once James sticks one of his 3-mana card drawing spells, he really controls the terms of engagement for the entire game.
Wooded Foothills here for Merriam. You saw him play a Morph last turn, Radical Mystic the turn prior. Now here's Arbor Colossus. He just wants to go as big as possible. That's really all he can do. Looks like we have a clash of wills to take care of the Arbor Colossus.
Which is actually good news for Ross. The worst case scenario is James goes, okay, that's fine, Dictator Crewfix, now the ball's rolling.
Yep. The Howling Mines are starting, all that stuff. That's when things get ugly.
If James respects Arbor Colossus enough to counter it, it means he's not prepared to lock Ross out of the game.
Yep. Roth wants to unmorph. Okay, a little Surge in mana here. What do we have now? Genesis Hydra. Okay, for 5. Take a look at the top 5 cards of Forest, among others. Not a real big hit, and this is okay-ish. Probably the best of the bunch.
Yep.
That'll search up a Forest.
Looks like Ross brought in Gaia's Revenge as well, which is fine. I mean, it's more pressure than something like Hornet Queen.
Yeah,
so.
Perfectly fine with that. There's a Dictate.
Here we go.
Time to get that party started.
Apparently, Brad Nelson and others tried to implore Ross to put a Biorhythm or 2 in his sideboard for this kind of matchup, and Ross dismissed them.
Yes.
And now this is happening.
Twisted Justice.
Now this is happening.
Sphinx's tutelage.
You can't get out of this.
Yeah. That'll teach you to not listen to Brad Nelson.
You don't even have any Reclamation Sieges. You're not getting out. He doesn't even need to fog this attack.
Oh, take it.
You
Just
can
take it.
He can take the hit. I don't think he's going to, but he could.
I kind of want to take it. If I don't have to fog it, why don't I just take it? That's what I'm saying. Oh, there's Guy's Revenge. Might have to fog now.
Yeah, now we got now.
Now
all right,
we have
fine.
to fog.
Now we got to fog.
All right, you're gonna force my hand, huh? You're gonna make me fog. Well, there's the wins. Dictator Crewfix, Milieu. They don't share. Ooh, the Udin's gone.
That's a heartbreaker for Ross.
Those don't share. There's a Temple. Top card, bottom now. Pass that turn back. James's hand appears to have a lot of fogs in it at this point. And he's gonna need them.
But he's got to generate them every turn.
Yep. Ross draw 2 cards a turn because of the Dictate. But as you mentioned, he will have to every turn. Here we come.
Like the attack.
Solid.
Solid attack.
I like the fog.
Like the fog.
Good play
too.
there. Both players on top of their game right now.
And without Ugin, Ross is essentially as helpless as he was in game 1. He's just at the mercy of James' draw.
He gets to do the same thing every turn. This is going to flip. We finally get to see the Planeswalker version of this. It's going to bring a 4/4 along with it. The Sage Animist, the legendary 4/4 elemental creature. Now Ross is going to follow up a Courser and a Pelucrados.
Creatures.
Yep. Those could be 100 of hundreds.
Yep.
There's another Dictate. It's getting ugly. 1 trigger from Sphinx. They don't share. How about this one? Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah, keep going.
Oh,
keep
yes.
It going.
Oh, yes. And we'll,
all right, stop.
We'll pause it. How about again? Oh, yeah. Okay. Average.
Okay.
Average. If you don't love this, you don't love Magic the Gathering.
I think
If you don't love this, you don't love Magic.
Listen, if we're once in every blue moon this is going on, that's cool. If this is a feature of Standard.
If this is the best deck and no one can do anything about it.
Now, if Ross just had some disenchants in his deck, he doesn't even need to have some huge trump or some weird way to blow up everything. If he could just blow up enchantments, he would have a puncher's chance in this matchup.
Yeah.
He just can't, so.
And don't forget, he does have the Shaman of, is it Shaman of Empty Ways? What is it? I can't think of the name of that card. The Shaman that only taps for mana. I know he's got some in his deck.
Claw Mystic.
The 3-mana Shaman that you can only use to cast creatures. I think he has 1 or 2 of those in his deck list this weekend. I thought he did. Oh, no, that's what. No, sorry, that's the Shaman that Brad won and played that he didn't play.
Yeah.
That's it. Excuse me. Shaman of Forgotten Ways that can biorhythm.
Yeah.
When you have 8 or more creatures in play.
That was the card that Brad was alluding to.
Excuse me. When you have Formidable, this would be a way for Ross to win. Biorhythm itself is not legal, as we see more milling taking place with Sphinx's tutelage. None of those shared. As long as James has, what, 2 more fogs, it's probably rolled up.
Yeah.
Another Sphinx's tutelage. There's an island. Here is a Monastery Siege. I think he's got a fog in his hand. I don't think he'd tap all this stuff if he didn't. That or, Aether Spouts, whatever. 2, 3, 4. Draw 2 from Dictate and then 1 for the draw step. Not a lot of cards left. The guys are mentioned the top card of the deck. Attack you, fog you. How many cards left? Not a lot.
He gets milled for...
It's got 10.
He loses his whole... Between the triggers, his own draw step.
Yep.
Even if there's no matching, I think he's just beat.
A tutelage activation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's just beat.
Yep, that's going to do it. James Newman going to win this match over Ross Merriam. 2-0. Turbo Fog takes care of Green-Red Devotion. So I'm not a big fan of putting percentages on things as far as matchups are concerned, but that really, truthfully, feels pretty close, like a 90%er for James.
Without any disenchant effects and without any sort of biorhythm or big cheat, I think Ross is basically Ugin or bust. That's the only card in his deck that I feel like gives him a shot of winning a reasonable game. Like if James has a real draw, it's got to be Ugin. That's the only thing Ross has got going on to give him any sort of shot.